One more time. We back again, family. They let us do it one more time. Oh, yeah, it was a good day today. It was a good day. I enjoyed this day today. I've been taking some calls again this week. Life is always filled with jewels and pearls and riches, and it depends on how you look at it. And I have my days where I don't look at it like that so much. But this week worked out very, very well. The highs and lows, the good, the bad, the ups and downs, the ins and the outs. Um, we want to talk about today. Do we play charades, men and women? Do we play charades in our relationships? So now we all know what charades is. So we want to break that down. We want to look at it specifically. We know in charades, we know most people know what the word is, but excuse me, most people don't know what the word is, but the person doing the description, the person trying to describe the word can't say the word, and they can only dance around the word. They can't actually say the word. Okay. So they have to be as descriptive as they can to communicate to you what they're trying to say. Now, I look at our relationships, a lot of the calls that I've been taking, a lot of people that I've been dealing with, when they're going through their situations and their issues, we all say that we're keeping it real. Everybody says that they're keeping it 100. Okay. You can only be as real as you can be through your trauma, through your triggers and your dysfunctions, through your mess. Until we talked about before on the video, it's like when you got that filter on your HVAC, we all pulled that filter out and you see how dirty and dusty that filter gets, right? So we usually change that 3 times a year, 4 times a year, maybe once a year, depending on how you do it. But when you pull that filter out, you see how clogged it is, how dirty it is. The filter extracts the things that you do not want. Imagine the filter in your mind and in your spirit. If you never changed that filter, if you never went and checked it, how clogged do you think that is? How can you keep it real when you know that filter is clogged? How can you keep it real when you know you never even checked it? When you're talking about your mental and your spiritual well-being, if you never changed that filter and you never checked on it, how can you keep it real with that? So we're talking about the charades. How often do we get a wealth of knowledge at the end of a relationship? That relationship could be a business association. It could be a neighbor. It could be family, or it could be personal. So we all want to think that we good people. We all want to think that we keeping it real. But if we never checked or changed that filter, because the filter is going to extract what you do not want, how real can you be when your filter is clogged? Because that'll mess up your HVAC system. That's why people usually have to end up changing the HVAC system out because they didn't check that filter. So we're saying the filter is extracting the things that you don't want. And we're talking about that's the connection to your mind and your spirit, which is your HVAC system, your heating and cooling situation. So when we in a business or personal or an association relationship, how can we keep it real, or how can we be honest when we never check that filter? Because that filter is going to extract the things that we do not want. So that's going to take us back to the charades in our relationships. We're trying to describe, we're trying to communicate, because we all know that communication gets lost in translation. So if you are not communicating properly because you're playing charades, because a lot of times we're trying to protect the person's feelings. We live in a feel good right now society. We want people around us to feel good. We want people to like us or have pleasant encounters. We want to engage and we want to have a pleasant situation. So a lot of times we don't say what needs to be said. A lot of times we don't say what's necessarily needs to be said. So that's the charade. So when we plan charades in our relationships, when we can't talk about the drop dead, bottom line, most honest things that we need to say to the person that we're dealing with, how can you keep it real? How can you be the best person that you can be when you are deceiving, misleading, and deceiving the person who you're talking to? So what we looking at the charades piece is in our relationships with men and women. A lot of men, we tend to try to finance, I call it financing the delusion of the woman. Okay. Your woman to ask you, do I look fat in this dress? Well, now 80% of the time, fellas, you know, if she's asking you, she probably need to drop a little weight, but that does not make her fat. A lot of times when she will ask us, are you hungry? She's not asking you, do you need some food? She's trying to tell you that she wants some food. This is the charades that I'm talking about. Okay, that's just from the fella's perspective. A lot of times, fellas will ask the young lady, "Can we have her number?" We'll tell her she looks beautiful. We say, "Can I give you a call? Can we go get a drink? Can we get something to eat? Can we go get a cup of coffee?" Whatever it is that y'all trying to do. But at the end of the day, a lot of guys, they just looking for sex. And then if he's not just looking for sex, he's trying to get a woman. And then if he's trying to get a woman, he may not necessarily be looking for a wife. So that's the charades that men play on their side. But if we could really be honest, if we could really keep it real, like people say they do, how can we keep it real when we have never checked that filter? How can we keep it real when we playing the charades? How can we keep it real when we not being honest? And it's deception to a certain degree, because a lot of us, and when I'm talking, no, I'll say most of us are living a lie, and that's the only truth that we have. The only truth that we have is that we are living a lie. We want to get into the process. A person, most adults have a process. And when people call me, or if I do forums, or we're having a conversation, when you soundbite a person, I'll use myself. If you take me tonight and you watch this video and you think you know me, I guarantee you, you will be 70% wrong. Okay? Because I do this channel as a promotion to promote the content and the data that I've collected over the last 10 years. So this data that I've collected from people with real life experiences from different ages, from different diverse social, economic, religious, and personal backgrounds. It's a diverse group of people. So I've taken the information from them, I extracted that data and turned it into statistics. So I get to see people from a more unique perspective because I've had conversations. So if you notice, if you anybody watching my channel, you go through my channel, have a conversation with somebody, anybody, especially a group of people. Pull up my channel. I guarantee you, I've done this now. The reason I number these videos, I have yet to have a conversation where that conversation did not touch at least 25 of those videos. I don't care who it is. I don't care what y'all talking about. I'm just talking about regular relationships and sharing experiences in a conversation. I have yet to have that happen. So I'm very, very strategic when that came from you. That came from the data. That came from the experiences that people have lived and shared with me. And I took that experience and that data and I put it into these videos. That's why they numbered. So if I'm using me and I'm telling you, if you want to size me up and soundbite me off these videos, guarantee you, you're going to be 70% wrong. It's much deeper than the myopic view that you're going to have if you soundbite this video. So if we can sit down and we talking about process, if you look at my process comes from you. It's not about me. I had to learn. When they say that it's 2 or 3 sides to a story, I really hate that analogy because myself, I've had to learn that in order to grow, I have to hear, listen, and understand and be able to communicate and translate to the person that I'm talking to. So I had to get very strategic and turn into a surgeon-like type of individual when I'm trying to have a conversation because it's about you more than it is about me. So at the end of the day, I had to change my filter. I had to protect that HVAC mind and my spirit. I had to work on my triggering, my traumas, my inhibitions, my insecurities. I had to make sure that the person that I'm talking to, I know who they are as well. I had to approach it first, understanding their position, how they see it from their perspective, and then we have to try and go from there. Because I know who I am more so than that other person if they have never checked that filter. If they don't even know that they traumatized, if they don't even know they got insecurities and inhibitions that affect their conversations, which ultimately affects their relationship. So my process that I use is I always put the other person or people first. So then I let them tell me who they are, what their goals and objectives are. I listen to them. It could be 30 minutes. It could be an hour. It could be 2. Then I ask them a very serious question. I say, tell me what you hear me saying, because I'm going to tell you verbatim first what you said to me. Then I'm going to tell you personally how I see it through my filter. Okay, so I'm going to give you 2 different versions of what you said to me to let you know that I heard you. Then I'm going to ask you, tell me what you hear me saying. People, good people, 90% of the time when I ask that question, what do you think happens? You right. They wasn't listening to me because their process is more myopic because it's all about them usually. And they're not doing that on purpose. It's because the filter has never been checked or changed. So what they think they're receiving is coming through a clogged, dirty filter. This is where the charades come into play. This is how we miss one another and each other. So when I say, are we playing charades as men and women? If we didn't check that filter, if we are talking around the words or the point or the subject or whatever it is we're trying to communicate, how can we really be truthful? How can we keep it real when we playing charades? You have to be as honest as you could be. You have to close your circle as tight as you can. And you have to be as upfront as you possibly can with those people that are closest to you. Now, we can't keep it real with everybody. Now, I'm from the old school, y'all. So I'm going to tell y'all like this. You have to be able to change hats. So when I say you have to be able to change hats, I don't talk to my mother like I talk to my grandmother. I don't talk to my brother like I might talk to my cousin. I don't talk to my wife the way I might speak to a colleague that's a female. So all of these things are going to come off different to me because I had to learn how to change hats. That's the old school. That's not a charade. That's not a game. That's just called proper etiquette because everybody is not on the same level. My wife is on a different level than a female associate. My mother and father are on a different level than my uncle and my auntie. So when you are engaging in these things, you have to put it in proper perspective. But we want to make sure that we want to play the least amount of charades as possible because we can't always keep it real. That is impossible. There's a time and a place for everything. So we want to talk about the differences sometimes in life. The difference between being a genius and looking like an insane person is success. I want to say that again. Sometimes in life, the difference in a situation, circumstance, or a scenario, the difference between looking like a genius and looking like you're insane is success. So I want to unpack that and give you a couple scenarios. One of my favorite movies is Bugsy. Bugsy Siegels. Bugsy Siegels is the man that invented Las Vegas. So he was eccentric, he was eclectic, he was artistic, he was creative, and he was crazy. All right. He didn't have a filter. Okay, he didn't even have a filter. So when we're talking about filters, this guy, you need to see the movie Bugsy and look at the movie as like how he presented himself in the movie and look at his life, not what he did specifically, just the whole body of work. So he went out to the desert and Bugsy Siegel saw an oasis of water in the desert. So he pulled his car over and he was having an argument with his lady. And so when he pulled over, he walked away off the road a little bit and he saw Las Vegas. Do you want to know where the most visited place on the face of the earth is today? Las Vegas. So now when I say that, if you watch the movie Bugsy, he went bankrupt 2 or 3 times. He was dealing with the mob. He lost his family. He was doing he was committing a lot of crimes. But at the end of the day, they was calling him insane. But now, of course, he is a genius. So I just want to leave y'all with that. We talked about charades in our relationships, how that filter needs to be checked. So I want you to check that filter. I want you to, after you check it, it probably need to be changed because most of us probably never checked our mental and spiritual filter. So at the end of our relationships, we don't want to leave them off in a bad way because when you do the best that you could up front, it usually don't get as ugly on the backside. The process, you should have your process in place. Don't be afraid of failure because we all have to fail. We can't use hindsight in life because we don't get to live in the past. We don't get to live in the future, and we're going to struggle living in the present. So I want y'all to understand the difference between being a genius and looking insane. Sometimes it's just simply success. So when you failing, that doesn't mean you're insane. It just looks like that for right now. But if you stay at it, and if you don't play charades, if you change that filter, if you connect with that spiritual and that mental, if you get your process right, if you try to perfect that process, if you understand that today you could look like a fool, but tomorrow you could be a genius. Okay, we're going to wrap it up right there. We want you to take this. We want you to test this. We want you to try this. Take it to the barbershop or take it to the hair salon. Take it to the job or take it to the church. Remember, you don't have to like it, believe it, or understand it. Sometimes you just have to respect it. This is the Clipperdome Chronicles. Thank you.